Hi, my name is Brian Jaklich. I graduated from UT with a MSSW in social work, and my current job title is a social work coordinator for the Harlandale Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas. I think in grad school, I got three really good tips to kind of guide my career or whatever. The first one was self-awareness. And I can't stress that enough because particularly, when you work with kids and families and you hear such horrific stories at times, you have to really take care of yourself and you have to kind of know what triggers, your own issues. And so that was always something I always kept in the forefront of my head. And so I really think that is super important as a social worker to be self-aware, to know when you're having a difficult time with what you're hearing. And I see that as an ethical responsibility actually, because, if we're not taking care of ourselves, how can we serve our clients in the best way possible? And so I really kind of take that to heart as, that's an ethical standard to me, that really self-awareness and self-care is huge. Another one was time management. That in this kind of role or this kind of job in general or social work in general, you are all over the place, and you get so many things thrown at you and thrown on your plate, and it's really hard sometimes to juggle everything. And so you really have to have pretty good time management, and that goes along with self-care too, because you need to have good boundaries as well, and really know, you have to have a great work-life balance. And if you don't, work can consume you. And so it's really important, I think, that, when you work and you work really, really hard and you do what you got to do, but when you're off, you need to take that time for yourself and your friends and family, whatever, and really kind of stay focused on that piece too. And then the other thing that really helped me is particularly going into schools, because when you work in schools, you're working in a host environment, right? So as social workers, a lot of people in school or education, that's kind of foreign to them. They don't really understand what a school social worker would do. So what I was told, or a good advice I think that I had, was get to know your agency very well. So instead of just focusing on the social work aspect of my job, in schools, you need to know what all the educational lingo is, what testing's all about, credits and everything that goes connected to a school system. Because the more you know, then you can justify what you have to do with people who might not kind of understand what a social worker is about. You can advocate better, I guess. And so I really, really thought that was a big, huge help to me. Is I really took a lot of time and really kind of looked at every different angle in the school system and how things were working, and who to talk to and who to learn from. And each school district runs very different. Each campus runs very different. They all have their own personalities and administration and stuff like that. So you have to get enmeshed in that kind of culture. And then the other thing is to be extremely visible. You can't just be in your office doing phone calls and trying to set things up. You got to be out there in schools, when kids are coming in the morning, to be out there greeting them at the buses, go through the cafeteria at lunchtime and greet them, talk to them, because it's all about building relationships. I mean, that would be my biggest advice in social work in general. It's all about relationships. And I mean, that's what we're all taught anyway, but it's so true. I mean, the more you establish relationships with kids and with parents or clients in general, and then the staff you work with, the easier it is for people to trust what you're doing and to really kind of support what you're doing at the same time. My first job after graduation was I became the lead probation officer for a diversion unit in San Antonio, Texas, with the juvenile probation department. And so what we did is, we supervised kids who were on probation, but we also came up with some kind of innovative programming. We did groups, we hooked them up with individual counseling, just to give them like a whole gamut of services so they could try to, before they actually got way into the system. So we tried to prevent a lot of stuff doing that. And that really helped because for my current job because I was exposed to a lot of things that kids and families had to deal with on a daily basis that I hadn't really been exposed to so much in the past. And it really kind of opened my eyes that, families have a lot that they have to cope with at times. And so it was a really kind of a good eye opener for me to kind of look at, just number one, what kids were dealing with, but the other thing is, okay, how can we help them? And then to really expand my knowledge of what's out there in the community for services to help them, be connected to the best services possible. In my current job, it's really hard to say what it would be a typical day because there's really not a typical day, but my responsibilities basically, this is the first year we've been very lucky. We've always had a social work team for the past, say, 26 years or so, but we've started with 4 and we just kind of kept going and growing the program as we went along. And now this year we put a social worker on every single campus. So that's been a dream of mine. So I'm like super, super happy about that. And so my role, basically, I supervise all the social workers. I also work with our McKinney-Vento and foster care youth. McKinney-Vento is our homeless population. So I case manage those students as well. And then I also, we opened up what they call the Harlandale Care Center, which is a counseling center. And so what we do is we have contracts and MOUs with a bunch of different community partners, the Children's Bereavement Center, Family Service Association of San Antonio, Jewish Family Services, Rise Recovery, which is a substance abuse program, just a bunch of different partners. And so what happens is we have a separate building for that they utilize, but all the referrals come through me. And so I screen the referrals, then I determine which agency would be best suited to serve that family or that student. But what's cool about it is we serve students, we serve parents, we serve staff, and we serve our community members who may not necessarily have kids in the school system, but they live within our district boundaries. So we can serve everybody. It's totally free. There's no in-depth paperwork. We don't have to deal with insurance or Medicaid or any of that kind of stuff. And so we just opened that this year too in November. We've already served over probably 350 families with services. So that takes a lot of my time as well. And I'm also, because I'm the liaison between all those different agencies. And so what happens is if there's issues that pop up or we have to meet on a regular basis and things like that. So, just to make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody's getting the services that they deserve. But a lot of my work is consulting right now. I do have some direct practice stuff with the families I work with, like I said, with foster care youth and McKinney-Vento or unaccompanied youth. But a lot of it is really kind of being the bridge between our school district and then the different community partners that we have within the San Antonio area.